And we're back here on Couch Coach Live, another Tuesday night under the lights here on Couch Coach Live. What's going on, X?
Ain't too much. What's going on with your coach?
Not much, man. Just another Tuesday here on the grind, man. So we got a lot to talk about today. So we'll talk about Duke falling to UConn in the Elite Eight. We'll talk about that. Jaden Ivey, man. We gotta talk about Jaden Ivey and this his comments that ultimately led him to being released by the Chicago Bulls. Will Wade did something that we all kind of figured was going to happen, but we'll discuss that. Will Wade going back to LSU in somewhat of a snakish type of fashion, but we'll take the emotions out of it and just actually have some expert analysis when it comes to our thoughts on Will Wade going back to LSU. And then we'll talk about Charles Huff. If we all know that he's the new Memphis head coach, pretty much doesn't want music to be played during practice. So we'll kind of talk about that and our thoughts on it. Then we'll round out with our game ball and our final thoughts. So first, man, X, we gotta talk about this Duke UConn game, which ended up becoming an ultimate classic. Which it's funny because on Sunday I went to this trivia night. Shout out to my guy Chris. He hosted a March Madness tournament, not tournament, but a March Madness trivia game, which I ended up finishing in second place. So hey, it is what it is. So so I finished there. So it was going on during the UConn and Duke game. It was in the beginning of the game, Duke was pretty much in the driver's seat. They even had a 19-point lead. So as we were leaving, we were all leaving. And then all of a sudden, we're like, okay, well, it's like a minute left and some change. They're going to be, they do going to end up winning this game. So we're outside of the restaurant, like where if you've ever been to the park, where there's like a little, they have like a little grass screen and some swing chairs, whatever. So we was in that area. Obviously, with UConn missing that free throw and then making the free throw, matter of fact, I got something better than that. We're going to see arguably the greatest finish in college basketball history. So a lot of people kept on saying Villanova versus North Carolina. No, hold my beer. Hold my beer. This is by far the greatest finish in college basketball history. Who cares about that? What was the kid name from Villanova? Chris Jenkins. Who gives a damn about Chris Jenkins? Who gives a damn about Chris Jenkins? That was 10 years ago. By far, this is by far the greatest not comeback, but the greatest finish in college basketball history. And you're going to hear it now. Fair use, fair use, fair use.
UConn trying to make an insane comeback right now. Down by as much as 19 at one point. They're going to take a three at the end of the game. Wow. Jeffrey missed the first free throw. Made the second. Duke just turned the ball over. Oh my God! UConn! Oh my God! They are ahead by one! This is it. And UConn wins! UConn! 73-72, down by 19 with the epic comeback.
That might have been the greatest 40 seconds of everybody's life that is outside of the Raleigh-Durham area. X, what's your thoughts on the finish, on the greatest finish of all time?
Honestly, I feel like that's, like you said, probably one of the greatest college basketball games I've seen in a very long time. If we comparing it to the UNC Villanova championship game, it's up there, arguably, if not better. I know the stakes were higher with the Villanova North Carolina game, but this game here between Duke and UConn was to get you to the Final Four. So I mean, the stakes was still high, but to talk about it, It take away the first half and you started because I followed the game in the first half on my phone. I didn't actually watch it until the second half. So speaking on the second half, you just started to see UConn like slowly chip away, chip away, chip away. At one point they got it down to single digits, but Duke went on like another run, and then UConn just kept chipping away, chipping away. And then when they got that, when they tied the game at was it 72? No, 70 all? Or was it 68? Well, I know they tied the game. Then Boozer came down, hit. Okay, they tied the game. Boozer came down, hit the hook to put them up by 3. UConn comes down. And honestly, I felt like UConn had wasted a lot of time off the clock because I think they went down. They had like 28 seconds to go. I don't know if they were getting into a set or what they were trying to do, but I just felt like, man, this ain't looking too good. I felt like they were just letting the time waste off the clock, like trying to get a good, get an open 3. But then I saw Duke foul. I was like, okay. Now I see they're going to try to play the foul game, the foul, get them to shoot free throws instead of potentially taking a shot to tie the game. But he went to the line. He missed the first one, made the second. And that's when the magic happens. Is UConn forced a turnover at the half court. I do want to say this. I understand the pass that Caden Boozer was trying to make.
Yeah.
I know a lot of people was trying to blame him for losing the game, but you can't blame him because of that one play. Because if you go back and look at the second half, UConn just came out with more intensity. Like they wanted it more. I think Duke just felt good being up 19, and I guess they felt like they could coast through the game. But this UConn team takes on the identity of Coach Hurley. Like they're a tough, gritty team, physical, disciplined. So you knew at some point in the second half that UConn was going to make this a ball game, and which they did. Like I said, they forced a turnover. And as soon as Braylon Mullins stepped across half court, he got the ball from I know I'm about to butcher his name, Coach. Was it Kerrigan?
Kerrigan, yeah, Kerrigan, and then Kerrigan
okay.
threw it.
Yeah, Mullins stepped and right there the logo and swished it bottom of the net with 0.4 seconds left on the clock. When I saw that, all I can do was just sit back and be like, wow. That was my only reaction was wow. I mean, as a Carolina fan, it was soothing the soul to watch Duke just collapse at the end of the game. But as a basketball fan, I just like when we live to watch these moments in March Madness, the game winners, the half court buzzer beaters, stuff like that. That's what March Madness is about. And like I said, also speaking as a basketball fan, I kind of felt bad for Duke because it's to the point now, like since Shire has been the head coach, it's like they get to a certain point, it's like they just can't get over the hump. They have all the talent in the world, but it just seems like when it comes to certain moments in the game, especially if it's close, it's like they collapse. I think all 3 of their losses this season, they had double-digit leads and collapsed and they lost. Because I know the Carolina game, they had a double-digit lead in the second half. Carolina chipped away, hit a buzzer beater, and then the Elite Eight game against UConn on Sunday. 19-point lead. They chipped away. UConn hit a buzzer, well, not a buzzer beater, hit a go-ahead three with 0.4 of a second left, and it's pretty much the ball game. Ended their season right then and there.
Yeah. I think, like you said, I think it's just one of the things where UConn has always have had that kind of that fight. I even harko on the last time that they was at Capital One Arena in January when they played Georgetown, and Georgetown in that second half kind of got out to a hot start. They led, and then UConn comes back and they get that 2-point win. That's when they had that 18 game win streak going at the time. They had won an 18th consecutive game at that point. And then even seeing them in the Big East championship game where even though St. John's was hammering them, they were pretty much, had these big leads on them. And then you kind of see like they kind of got down to double digits, but then like St. John's kind of put the pedal to the metal and blew them out. So this team always have had fight in them. Like you said, they epitomize like kind of Dan Hurley's mantra. And there's a lot of things where, that sequence, it was just a perfect sequence because even with that free throw, I was thinking like, okay, do you miss that free throw? Because at that time, do you miss the free throw and try to get another possession? And then the fact that, Duke pretty much is playing keep away where, hey, we're going to throw it away to avoid the foul and whatever. And like you said, I don't blame Camden for that because, Caden, my bad, Caden. I keep yeah, you know how it is.
Yeah.
All these new age Camerons, and all like, look. That's but anyway. But Caden, like you said, I think instinctively because I don't think he knew that Mullins was going to have that reach and being able to essentially get that still in midair. Because that doesn't happen that often. We don't never really see guys jump up that high for a pass like that and actually able to get it. Because basically, if that pass didn't go through Mullins, if it would have went through Mullins' hands, this game would have been over because nobody else was, they would have been able to run the clock out. And I gotta give kudos to UConn for not fouling because that was the first thing I was like, okay, especially when they inbounded first, I'm like, well, you need to foul. Then they quickly passed it to Boozer, and I'm like, you need to foul. But then I was like, oh, that was smart because they was able to get that possession. Because I'm like, foul. And then all of a sudden I see Mullins get the steal. Like I said, Culligan gets it. He gets the ricochet from the steal and then gives it back to Mullins to hit that three. Mm-hmm. And there you go. And it's just one of those where it's just like, it was a perfectly executed play. And it's just one of the things where, like you said, that's just how the cookie crumbles in March. That's what makes March madness. That's what makes it madness. And it's just one of those where it's just like, and it's like ultimate chess game, chess versus checkers. Because, obviously when we looked at kind of like Shire wanted to kind of run that clock down and pretty much, like most typical teams would do. But then you got Hurley who was able to have that wherewithal to put two guys on the floor right then and there where one could get that steal. And then, obviously one can recover the steal and then pass it to the actual person who stole it, which was Mullins. So that's what makes it special. That's what makes Dan Hurley who he is. Because that is like a play that you would see, like if Dan Hurley was like that, like as far as size-wise, I can see him doing something like that. And it's just one of the things where you just look at this UConn just found a way to win. And the crazy thing about this time, they weren't even in the West bracket. They weren't even in the West region. They won the East region. So it's really interesting how this all plays out. But kudos to UConn. And like you said, John Shire, yet again, lost last year. I think they were up by like 14 against Houston, and they lost in the Elite Eight. Almost the same, not the same scenario, but in the same kind of spot where they had a comfortable lead. You're thinking that they're on their way to the Final Four, and then obviously Houston end up winning that game, end up going to the Final Four. But and I know a lot of people questioning John Shire, but at this point, I mean, getting to a Elite Eight, going to a regional championship, that's huge. A lot of teams don't even get that far. And this just goes to show you how hard it is to get to this level. It's difficult. It's not easy. How people think that, yeah, you got this team, you get these one and dones, you get all this talent, but all the talent got to come together at some point. And he gets them. He gets them to the Elite Eight, and I know a lot of people want more, but it is what it is.
But it's like you said. You talk about the talent that Duke has, and I look at it like when you look at Duke and UConn, one team. If you were to break down both teams, you will say one team has the talent, but the other team has an identity. So we both in agreement that Duke has the talent. You have 5-star recruits. You have lottery picks on your team. But UConn, like, their players adopt the identity of Hurley. They're scrappy.
Yeah.
They're gritty, physical, defensive minded, and they're very disciplined. And for Mullins to pull up and take that shot, because Mullins was what,
0 freshman.
He was 0 for 6 from the 3-point, from beyond the 3 in that game.
And he's a freshman.
Man, like I said, you like I said, I just feel like UConn, UConn has a identity. I don't think Duke. When I say this, I'm not throwing shade or throwing any shots, but I felt like Duke didn't have an identity. And you saw it play out Sunday.
Yeah.
And for some reason, I felt like the first 2 games of this tournament, Duke struggled. Like in the first half of both of those games, like they were down to Siena at the half.
Siena, yep.
And then, what's that? The round of 64, and then the round of 32, they were down. Well, I don't know if they were down. I know that the game was close until the second half, where Duke just took over. But then in the Sweet 16, they asserted their dominance from the jump.
Yeah.
So this, like, the Duke team was just like so up and down throughout this whole tournament. But then, and I think about it, if you go back to the ACC tournament, they kind of they were kind of shaky. Like the game against, who was it, Clemson? It was close, but then again, yeah. But in the second half, they were able to pull away. Then the game against UVA, that game was, Duke had a good lead, but then UVA fought back. So, like I said, I don't want to say Duke, their MO was just choking away leads in the second half, but they just got to find a way to finish these ball games. So you can have all the talent in the world, but if you don't have identity, like what's the point? What's good in having all this talent? It can only win you, but so much.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Yeah, and like you said, it can get you but so far, and that's like, it's so funny. Like when we used to look at the tournament, what was the big key ingredients? You had to have senior leadership. You had to have eons of experience, and when guys stayed with each other for 2 or 3 years, and that's why it's like, it's so funny when you used to look at the tournament. It's like, okay, oh, this team is going against this team. And you're like, well, okay, this team that you think that's inferior, their guard is their backcourt has been together for 3 years. They won 25 plus games a year. like those type of things, those type of ingredients. And now, like you said, it's different now. Like you said, yes, you can still establish the culture, but especially when you have that type of ability with, obviously, like you talking about, we got national players of the year each year coming to Duke, and pretty much, and just they having the best of the best, and it's hard for them to kind of adjust because most of your core is 18 years old. They don't really rely on, like most people, that 22-year-old senior or that 21-year-old junior. Those guys with somewhat of experience. They just get, and that's just kind of what it is now, and how the college basketball, I wouldn't say has evolved, but just the way it is currently. And I just find it really interesting of how how that happens, because if you look at, like you said, because just their talent alone these last 3 years, you would definitely thought they would have at least won a national championship just off the talent alone. But like you said, they lost the teams, like you said, that have that, then the Houstons of last year, the UConns, the guys that, although they, UConn and Houston, it was just saying them as example, and most teams, they really rely on not just the freshmen. They rely on some other key guys in their lineup, and also, especially now with the transfer portal, getting little pieces here and there for their team. But yeah, but I thought it was great. It was poetic justice. I mean, considering the fact Carolina don't have a head coach, NC State, well, they got a head coach now, but they didn't have a head coach during this game on Sunday. So just the fact that the wallow in that sorrow, you got the two other teams in the triangle struggling. So, man, Jaden Ivey, man, let's just get into it. So Jaden Ivey, we all know, obviously, got drafted number 5th overall in the 2022 draft by the Detroit Pistons. We thought him and Cade Cunningham was going to be the backcourt of the future. He was well on his way. Had a few setbacks. Had an injury last year. Ended up getting traded by the Chicago Bulls during the trade deadline. We all know that his mom is Niall Ivey, the coach at Notre Dame, who had just had a heartbreaking loss the other day. So a lot of this, it's really interesting, the timing of it all. So Jaden Ivey, he went on his Instagram. I want to say either it was yesterday or Sunday, I don't know. But anyway, he went on almost an hour-long diatribe about stuff. So the only video that we're going to show you is kind of what got Jaden Ivey released. He did have some other comments where we might probably talk about it in our thoughts on this whole situation. But we're going to play essentially the clip that pretty much got him released by Chicago Bulls due to detriment.
Conduct detrimental to the team.
Conduct, yeah, to the team, yes. So we'll play that, and once again, this is fair use. We're just playing this, so basically, so you'll kind of know what's going on. We're just playing it. It's not like something that we condone or whatever. This just giving you context of essentially the main crux of why Jaden Ivey is no longer a member of the Chicago Bulls. We'll play that clip, and we'll roll it.
The world can proclaim LGBTQ, right? They proclaim Pride Month and the NBA. They proclaim it. They show it to the world. They say, come join us for Pride Month, to celebrate unrighteousness. They proclaim it. They proclaim it on the billboards. They proclaim it in the streets. Unrighteousness. So how is it that one can't speak righteousness? How is it one that how are they to say that man, this man is crazy?
All right, we got it off the screen. So basically, the reason kind of why is because obviously, as we had put in the pre-production notes, pretty much his stance on Pride Month. Essentially, that's what it was. How his thought process on that, and as far as from his religious angle of how that is concerned. So, what were your thoughts on Jaden Ivey's, not necessarily the comments, but just the whole repercussions behind him being released by the Bulls? Just your overall thoughts on just this whole process.
Oh man, I'm trying to word it right. A surprising move to a certain extent. I'm trying to understand how does that fall under conduct detrimental to a team, but I mean, I guess they had to give a reason why they released him. So like honestly, like this Jaden Ivey's situation, it's a layered one because it's so much. Because if you think about it, not only the Chicago Bulls, but all teams today, they, other than protect themselves and the logo in the NBA, they also protect the culture just as much as the talent. Because man, coach. All right. I just feel like some of the stuff he was saying, as far as it goes as the Pride Month, like everyone is entitled to their own opinion. But you went out and was he on IG Live or he was just
IG Live? Yeah.
Okay.
IG Live.
Okay. So he went out on IG Live and started spewing all this rhetoric about Pride Month and all this. But he has to realize that the NBA is a business. So along with every other professional sports league, they celebrate Pride Month, or they take a month in their season where they celebrate Pride Month. So him saying that, one, it already happened, got him put off the team, and then two, it's gonna make other teams wary of even thinking about bringing you into that locker room next season, because they want to see like what's your mindset, like where's your mental health and stuff like that. And then again, you might have teammates that's you know what I'm trying to say, Coach. So you could be affecting.
Oh, yeah, I know, for sure.
Yeah. So some of the stuff you say can be taken a certain way and can be hurtful towards other people. Especially when you say stuff like that about that community, is ramifications and consequences that comes along with it. So you have to, although you may feel that way, sometimes it's best to keep it to yourself or talk to it amongst people you consider your close friends and your inner circle like that. But don't go on IG Live and spew that type of, like I said, rhetoric and anything like that and not expect any consequences or repercussions from saying that. In this case, I feel like accountability matters, but context matters too. What he said, was it ignorant? Some people will think it was ignorant to say. Then you got other people that may think differently. Was it intentional? It may have been, or it couldn't have been. But intention only matters to the person that says it. And maybe could it have been taken the wrong way? I highly doubt it. But then I'm thinking about, okay, your mom is the coach at Notre Dame, and she may have some players on her team that may represent pride. So, what if that hurts her recruiting, bringing in players? It's like I started thinking like different stuff that could affect him and like people around him. I don't think it'll have like any bearings or anything on the Chicago Bulls, anything like that. They did what they deemed necessary, get him out of the locker room, off the team. I just feel like he's gonna have to issue an apology, I feel. And I feel like other teams are gonna kind of look at him with a side eye about bringing him into the locker room. Because like I said, the NBA is a business and they have partnerships with this community, with other businesses that represent this community and work with this community. So sometimes you gotta be mindful of what you say and how you say it. And not everything needs to be said on IG Live. Certain things, like I said, if you felt like that, don't go on IG Live and say it. Just talk amongst someone you feel that you've entrusted, that you can talk to behind closed doors, that you know that won't go out and pretty much regurgitate everything that you told them. So I just feel like like I said, some things don't need to be put on IG Live. And honestly, the real question could be like, are they correcting the behavior or just removing the problem? So,
yeah. Like I said, most issues I am like an empath when it comes to I can see both sides of the spectrum. I think the thing is, and once again, we have to realize, and Jane has to realize this as well too. These corporations, like we always talk about, like with the NFL, the NBA, all these major sport leagues, they're not the morale police. They don't care about issues. To be completely 100% honest, there's plenty of issues where they've had a blind eye to. Gambling, domestic abuse. They've had their blind eye to a lot of stuff. But it's certain ones when it comes to what they really matter the most. And it is because they're about the money. They're not about the actual morale. And that's not, and once you understand that, that's when you don't cross that line, or when you expect these teams to have a more compass. Because ultimately what happens, just like, I don't know if you remember the whole situation in China. I remember the situation where they didn't want these players to speak out on certain issues about China because the NBA and China are in bed together. You don't talk about gambling. They're in bed together. The whole thing with Kyrie Irving, he just posted a picture, but that picture offended people they're in bed with. they are in bed with this community. So what do you expect is going to happen? And the thing about with Jaden Ivey, he's in such a bad predicament because he just got traded to probably one of the worst organizations that were going to get rid of him anyway. You gave them an out. It's like, because now, okay, you got traded for the Chicago Bulls, had a cup of coffee, but everybody, they'd be willing to open arms like, yeah, the organization just sucks. But now you put yourself in a predicament, you get yourself 2 weeks off, and you may never come back in the league again. And I understand where he comes from, like a lot of it. I think at his age, that's his thought process. He's young. He's 24 years old. And I understand, yes, when you're that age, you really want to kind of express yourself in a certain manner. But you got to realize what league you are in and who they're in bed with. That's just like anything. That's like our 9-to-5s. You think I'm going to come on here and try to piss off my job or piss off anything that their corporate entities or whatever? Absolutely not. Because I know at the end of the day, or anything that I'm associated with, not even just the 9-to-5, even like when it comes to teams that I cover or whatever happens, you don't do that. Like, you already know what's going to be the ramification. If I know I'm talking bad about somebody that has a close relationship from a financial standpoint versus something that I have interest in or whatever, you're just not going to touch it. And like you said, and the thing about it is, they'll couple with it the production. I mean, the team is bad. The team will get rid of you anyway, but you gave them an out for them to just get rid of you, point blank, period. Mm-hmm. And then the simple fact of your production has fallen off. That's another thing. Because if he was averaging that 17 points like he did in Detroit, no, this would have been swept under the rug. Because there's some people on that team. I'm not going to say nobody's name because I'm trying to retire at a certain age and they might gut me out if I say their names. So there's tons of people in this league that shouldn't be in this league due to things that they have allegedly done. That's far worse than an Instagram and IG Live. But guess what? They produce in this league. Mm-hmm. That's the issue. Granted, yes, Jaden Ivey, he's averaging 11 in the 4 games he played with the Bulls, but still. If he was averaging 17 like he did in Detroit before he messed his knee up, messed his leg up, mm-hmm. We wouldn't even had this conversation. He probably would have had a mea culpa and apologized already. They would probably force him to do it because, especially if he still was in Detroit, they would fight. They fight for the number 1 seed. They got something to play for. The Bull season's over. It's been over since Christmas. Yeah. So ain't nothing to fight for at this point. So you only got 2 weeks left. You are a few days away from getting a clear plastic bag and clean out your locker. That's how bad it is in Chicago. So it's just like, this is just one of those things where it's just an ultimate learning lesson. And I understand, yes, you want to be expressive and you want to have your thoughts, like you said, but you need to have people that you can have these conversations with that are offline. That you can, like you said, you can entrust where I don't have to be on a hot mic, a la like a Rachel Nichols or other people we've heard on a hot mic talk about somebody. You need to have that type of situation. You need to have an outlet like that versus being on Instagram Live where it can be interpreted in so many different ways amongst a bunch of people. If you're among your friend group, we can talk about it and we can have that discourse, and if there's a rebuttal to it, we can talk about both sides of it amongst your friends. You don't have to, because what's going to happen is, it's like everything. Like, even when we pull these clips, we're just showing you a brief summary of what happened. This doesn't necessarily tell the whole story, but it's just one of those things where the context of it versus where, somebody can get that video and just judge you off of just that minute and 3-second clip that we had. It was still 50-something minutes left in that diatribe of his where, it can be interpreted. But I'm like, yeah, like you said, you need to have a group of friends where you can have these kind of conversations, these uncomfortable conversations, because it's going to get misconstrued because especially now we live in a day and age, anything can be offensive to people. Like, and if you offend a certain amount of group or anybody that is in bed within the NBA, just like this whole, like that, go back to the Magic City thing, because we thought this all was going to happen. Then what ended up happening? It ended up picking up steam. People interpreted it as if like they were going to be butt naked women at their basketball game. All they were doing was just selling hoodies and Lou Will barbecue lemon pepper wings. And you see how that was interpreted. Well, you know, because I'm thinking they're going to have a halftime show with girls in pasties and thongs. But that just go to show you like how their interpretation led to that, because a lot of people thinking there was more so it's going to be exploiting women, but the women weren't going to be even involved in this. This is just celebrating the actual the gentleman's club, but minus the women. But it just go to show you like how when you have something like a public platform like that, things get misconstrued. And same thing go with Jaden Ivey, where you can kind of pull pieces of his diatribe and be like, oh, well, this may come across this may come across that. It's almost like people aren't in this day and age, they're not like true to medicine. Like as far as they don't look at it from a lens like, hey, well, I understand where he come from, but he may not be the right messenger. It's almost just like he's a bad guy. He's a bad guy. Like, yeah, the message, I get the message, but the messenger. Because a lot of people can pick and prod people's analysis. And I think that's one thing, too. I think he's going to have to learn. And I think this is a cautionary tale for most athletes where, you know, I get it. We all want to be expressive. We all want to have our thoughts, you know, expressed. But there's ways of doing it, especially considering the fact you being in the league where you know that these leagues have zero morals, and that's fine. And that's fine because I think it's just like a lot of things in life. Once you become self-aware, life becomes easier. You don't expect the NBA to have this morale clause about certain things. You don't expect these major sport leagues. They're all about money. You don't make billions of dollars because I'm moral and I'm about values. They're about the money.
Yeah.
And if you piss the people off that has the money to give you the billions of dollars, and your production is lacking, and you're on a team that was going to get rid of you anyway, it was just a recipe for disaster. And most guys going to have to learn that. I understand Jaden's message, but sometimes you need to keep that to yourself in this day and age, for sure.
Yeah. Oh, like you said, talk to someone that you entrust. So.
Yeah. So you can have those conversations where you don't have Susie193@gmail.com coming. Pause. Going down your throat. Pause. But damn it. But you know, you like where you're gonna have like this angry mob of people. And I hate that. I hope there's not a Susie1965@gmail.com by now. I sincerely apologize. But there's a feverish mob when it comes to social media, and the outrage is just stupid. I mean, it's not stupid, but it's just like you said. If you like, you can have a conversation among your friends where you don't have that, you know, have that discourse between people on social media where they can interpret things in a different way, and you can talk to your friends. Hey, well, maybe I didn't communicate to it properly, but this is how I truly feel. You can't. It's almost like when you do it on the internet, you can't put the toothpaste back in the tube because what's already said, you can't go back and say, hey, or have like a mea culpa, be like, oh, I did this, my bad. I need to retract what I said. The damage is already done. And you're going against people that most people, and I hate to say this out loud, we got a lot of people that don't think critically. And people who think critically, don't think critically, can really pick apart your argument, which is really just sad and messed up in this country.
Yeah, like I said, the Jaden Ivey, like I said, Jaden Ivey situation is a touchy one because Like for him, this can be career ending because, like I said, the NBA is well, like you said, the NBA has. I'm not just saying the NBA, but most majority of the sports league have no morals when it comes to. It's all about the bottom dollar, making as much money as possible.
Yeah.
So if you potentially can step in their way and affect their bottom line, then 9 times out of 10 they're gonna try to find a way to get you out the picture. So
Absolutely.
I'm hoping he's learned from this, and hopefully another team will take a chance on him. Because, like you say, he's 24. He still has a lot of basketball left to be played. Um,
Yeah.
um, you don't want to blame it on age, saying young and dumb, but what he did was was a young and dumb thing to do. Like, so I'm just hoping he can just get things back on track. Whatever headspace he's in, just get that right, and then find his way onto a team next season. Find yourself on a team that's about winning, that can help, that you can help, and just get back to playing ball, man. And no, and if you still feel that way um about the Pride Month or anything, just like we said, just find someone you feel that you can trust, that you can vent to, talk to about these situations, and y'all have an open dialogue. Maybe they can talk to you and give you the pros about Pride Month, and then you can talk about why you feel this way about it, and then y'all just come to a point where y'all either agree to disagree, or y'all can both agree on something to move forward.
Yeah. But yeah, man. I don't know, but yeah, man. Shout out to little Jaden, man. Hopefully you get yourself back on your feet in the league, and yeah, but yeah, man. It's an unfortunate set of events, but hey,
Because if
hopefully
they
the
can,
team will pick them up
because if they can phase you out, they'll phase you out. We've seen it happen before, and
all the time.
we seen them phase out players that had nothing like this going on. So
Right. Right.
like I said,
Eight
if the league wants to phase you out, they, they will do so,
they
and
face you
have,
out for sure.
and have no regrets about it.
Yeah. So we'll stay in college basketball. So we gotta talk about this whole Will Wade situation, which I've always found very perplexing and very interesting. I always call it the curious case of Will Wade. So obviously Will Wade has some ties to the local area. Obviously, once upon a time he was the VCU assistant head coach under Shaka Smart. I think he was there when VCU did make the Final Four in 2011. He had came back, I want to say in 2015. He came back to become the head coach at VCU. Left from VCU, went to LSU, and we all know kind of the whole situation. He went there from 2017 to 2022. Obviously, there was amid a few recruiting violations, alleged recruiting violations that ultimately led to his firing almost 4 years ago to the date of March of 2022. Went to McNeese State. So we know about him, the success, them going to last year's. Well, they actually made the tournament this year as well, but they went to the tournament in 2025, and then Will Wade took his talents to NC State, and essentially it was one and done. Basically, what ended up happening, I want to say it was Wednesday or Thursday of last week. he sent an email to the athletic director, let them know, hey, I'm leaving after signing a 6-year deal last year, going to LSU. Obviously, LSU had got rid of their head coach, and now Will Wade is back at LSU. Wow, how did we even get here? What were your thoughts, X, on your boy Will Wade?
Man, it's a surprising move. This move also lets me know that I don't think he ever wanted to leave LSU the first time.
Yeah.
But this also screams LSU wants wins, and they'll deal with everything else later. That's what this type of move tells me. They have history with Will Wade. They know exactly who Will Wade is, and then by knowing him, they still made the move to bring him in as the new head coach. That tells me that they value him as someone special that can build a team, and they also value what he brings on the court more than anything that may occur off of the court. So I can see LSU returning back to prominence, being an actual threat in the SEC, and maybe making a legit run in the NCAA tournament. Not saying they'll win the whole thing, but at least make a run. But as far as NC State goes, it's a tough loss for them because if you think about it, they were building something, and now they kind of got to hit the reset button because I feel like some of the guys that Will Wade recruited to NC State may follow him to LSU. That's how it normally goes. The coach that recruits them or brings them in, the player will normally follow. But then I'm looking at it from the standpoint of you hear people criticizing the players about jumping in the portal and stuff like that as soon as the season is over with. But coach has been doing this since what? The beginning of way before. I say it like this: coach has been doing this way before the transfer portal even existed. So, the players see the coaches do it, so they're gonna follow suit. If the coaches don't get looked at a certain way by doing so, why are the players being criticized and demonized for doing the same thing that the coaches do?
You want to know why?
I know why. But I know why. And then again, Will Wade just signed a 6-year. He was in the first year of his 6-year deal with NC State.
Yeah.
But people want to criticize the players because they go to one school 1 year, then in the portal, back in another school another year. Now, like I said, coach has been doing this way before the transfer portal even been created. So it is what it is at this point. Hopefully NC State can find the right guy to come in and either continue to build off what Will Wade was trying to do, or like you say, hit the reset button and just start from scratch, rebuild the program back up. And as far as LSU, it'll be good to see them back in the tournament. I remember thinking about the days they had Tyus. What's his last name, coach? He got drafted by the Bulls.
Oh, Tyus Thomas.
Yeah, Tyus Thomas. Big Baby Davis.
Big Baby Davis.
So like I said, man, I'm used to seeing the LSU basketball team in the tournament, so it'll be good to see them back in the tournament, making some headway, making some noise. So wishing Will Wade the best. Hopefully he can keep everything clean and smooth over there at LSU. No controversy, but we know how he is.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. I mean, I just find all this so fascinating and yet hilarious. I mean, I tell you, man, that damn Frank William Wade, he's something else. Um, I am I surprised at this move? Not at all. It's just one of those things where it's just like it almost kind of remind me of kind of the Lane Kiffin situation. Both of those guys are kind of the same but different in a sense of hey, they're fearless when it comes to what they want.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna go and get what I want. Like LSU, they ponied up and got Lane Kiffin. Hey, I'm gonna go. Same thing Will Wade. Regardless of how it is, I can give them credit. They're fearless when it comes to these type of moves. I do like the fact that NC State did end up getting Justin Gainey. He played with them like late 90s around the turn of the century. So I definitely think he's going to be someone that will be well for this NC State team. So that's the thing about that's the kind of the beauty of kind of all this, where it's like, yes, a coach leave, but we can always find somebody. And he's had some experience. He's been with Tennessee for the last like 4 years or so. So as their assistant. So I definitely think NC State will bounce back, and I think they'll be fine. And same thing with Will Wade, like, and I think with him, like he'll bring that school back to prominence where they could be competitive in that SEC because they have to be. I mean, you think to yourself, I mean, this team is getting double-digit bids to the NCAA tournament. It is by far the best conference in the nation. I mean, obviously, I know a lot of people are like, well, what about the Big Ten? Yes, the Big Ten has a seat at the table as well. Yeah. But for the sake of this argument, SEC is one of the most premier basketball conferences in this league, where you see them getting 10+ invites yearly. Mm-hmm. And Will Wade needs to be in those spots where he can compete for a SEC championship and also for NCAA tournament. And like I said, I think he is their best choice because obviously they've had experience with him, and they pretty much had to force their hand with firing of Will Wade. Like I said, I don't necessarily think that they wanted to fire him, but yet again, where you have these allegations, it gets heavy, it gets thick. Somebody got to be the fall guy. What Chris Carter said, have a fall guy. And that's what Will Wade was, unfortunately. And which I don't blame him because, I mean, at the end of the day, like we talked about Lane Kiffin, like we know how this coaching game is where, they can chew you up and spit you out the next. And I'm going to go with the best opportunity. I'm going to go with the one with the best challenge, even though NC State is a great challenge in itself. Obviously, ACC is also a great conference, but and we're looking at it in 2026, the SEC is a better conference. And I think with him, it might mean a little bit more. Obviously, yes, you can go to down the street to Raleigh and beat Duke and Cameron. That's a highlight. Go down the street to Chapel Hill and Dean Dome, beat them. Yes, those are great signature moments, but being in the SEC is a little bit different, especially now how the tide is turning in the SEC. So I don't fault Will Wade. Yeah, Will Wade is a very interesting character to say the least. But like I said, aside from the kind of the personal feelings of Coach Wade, I understand this move. It really sucks because I really wanted Will Wade to come back to the Segal Center this year because NC State and VCU got a home and home. Because VCU went to NC State last year, and I was like, "Oh man, Will Wade was gonna come back to VCU because he did that. When he was the coach at LSU, he came back and VCU ended up beating LSU that night. So it would have been crazy to see Will again in the center, but so it is what it is. But for personal reasons, I was like, dang. But I get it. I mean, LSU, especially now, you're looking at what they're doing with the football team, and then obviously, so I'm not. Somebody said this on the internet, and I really agree with this. Could you imagine seeing Lane Kiffin, Will Wade, and Kim Mulkey in the same room? I would love to be a fly on that wall. The conversations that banter that them three would have, man. Somebody even said put them on a reality show and let them all live in a house together, man.
Put
it on Netflix and guess what?
Yeah, some strong personalities, man.
For sure, put it on Netflix. This cheapskate gonna get Netflix if that happens. so for sure. So, I mean, yeah. So now we talked about as far as like a new era in LSU. Let's talk about the new era in Memphis, Tennessee, where we got Coach Huff, Charles Huff. As we all know, he is now the new head coach at Memphis, and he's taking over that program. He was with Southern Miss last year. Prior to the Southern Miss stint, he was with Marshall. So basically, and I'm quoting, this is from Football Forever. So Memphis head coach Charles Huff, who was just hired in December, gave a well-thought-out explanation for why he doesn't play music during practice. And he's citing a Nick Saban influence on him, the Navy SEALs, and military operations. And this is from Coach Huff, in quotes. I mean, when the Navy SEALs get ready to do a mission, they're not listening to Lil Baby. When they're training to go to war, which we're training to go to war, they're not listening to NBA Youngboy. So Coach Saban trained us like that. We should be focused on what it takes to execute the next play, not who's on the ox, who's pressing play. I never seen the military get ready to go on a crucial war mission with NBA Youngboy playing in their heads or in the background. Sorry, I'm trying to be professional, but this reference to like NBA Youngboy is like killing me. But anyway, I tell the guys all the time, if I gotta play music to get you to play the game you love at a high level, we got the wrong guys, Huff said. To me, this is a business and we got a job to do at a really high level where these guys are trying to go individually. You ain't got a lot of time to be out there dancing and all that stuff, in my opinion. When the ball snaps in the game, it's 50,000 people yelling. NBA Youngboy ain't playing. I'm sorry. But we need to try to replicate game-like situations. Every time we do it, practice is replicated in a game. This is why we tuck in our shirts. This is why we, run through those lines. That's why we, go with the fast tempo. What's your thoughts on Coach Huff? And pretty much the reasoning is why he doesn't want to play music during practice.
I kind of get it, but I don't fully agree with it. If you think about it, today's athletes feed off of energy, and if you think about it, if you see a lot of these players in the pregame warm-ups or walking through the tunnel, they have headphones on. Some listening to music, some listen to all different genres of music. Some maybe even listening to podcasts or motivational speakers and stuff like that. But they're listening to something for some motivation. And it's also getting their mindset ready to play the game. And it's setting the tone for them mentally to get themselves prepared physically to step out on the field. I don't like I mean, I get it, but I don't like him throwing Lil Baby or NBA YoungBoy. Like, in like I don't get it. Like you could have said all of that without like name dropping those guys. If you just wanted to say hip hop or something like that, you could have just done that. But you pointed out two guys, which I feel like that was unnecessary. That, like I said, he could have said all that and just left those two names out, or just left name dropping people in general. But as I was saying, to me, if your players use the music, like I said, to set the tone, to bring the energy, whatever they need to get themselves through practice and to get themselves ready for the game, like, why not? You don't have to play music the whole practice. Well, why not have like periods in practice where the music is playing? Maybe when they're off doing drills or something like that, have them playing music. But if it's to the point where y'all are coaching, like actually running your scripted game plan, yeah, you don't have to play the music there. But just eliminating music for the whole practice, I feel like it's kind of necessary. But I mean, did he do this at the other schools he coached at, or is this just Memphis?
I think he has.
Okay.
I think he's also coming to light now because he, obviously with a more of a prominent job in Memphis compared to Southern Miss.
Did he get like any pushback or anything from? What was there any word of any pushback from players or anything like that? Or they just they just went with
no pushback yet.
Okay.
I guess nobody really has said anything negative about it. It's more so of like I guess somebody had asked him about the whole him not playing music during practice.
Okay.
Players that really like vocally spoke out or anything, but yeah.
Okay. All right. So pretty much if that reporter or media person didn't ask the question, this probably wouldn't even made headlines. I got you. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think it's just more so. I think kind of one of the reasons why I really want to talk about it because like the new generation of it, and I find it funny because I didn't really realize me and Coach Huff are literally the same age. He's like a year older than me, and it's funny because I guess it's more so. I think it's like as you get older, you think to yourself like, okay, Coach Huff is really like button up, like kind of a just a leader of men. And you think to yourself, man, he's only like 43 years old, and it's crazy to think like, wow, you just look at that type of stuff, you're like, wow, like really, like he's in his early 40s. But I say this, whereas I find it odd. I understand like you wanna do these things to kind of be different, but I think those days are done. I don't think we live in such a different world where these athletes, granted, yes, that shows like kind of discipline, this, that, and third, but I still want the young men to have some element of fun. This is their way of them connecting. I think this was a perfect opportunity for him. He talked about it. Not necessarily saying you're going to be an NBA YoungBoy fan or you're going to listen to Lil Baby, but this is kind of a way that you can kind of connect with your players because you would always kind of still want to have an environment where these guys are having fun. And I don't like the whole mantra of war and stuff. I get it. I get it because you want to that's because we know coaches exercise in hyperbole, like I do as well. I exercise in hyperbole every day of my life, but there's a line to be drawn. Yes, it's almost like you're going to war, but especially now when we're kind of in that situation, what those people are doing in these other countries are pale in comparison to what you're doing for the football game. Because to me, I look at playing football, it's like something that, hey, in order for you to be good at this, you gotta love it and you gotta have fun with it. Because I think when you get to that war, that whole war mentality and stuff, I just think sometimes that's forced. And I don't like. I get because you want to have the type of hyperbole, you want to kind of get these guys going. But I still think you can get these guys going by simply just having fun, playing music, and that's why I laugh because this whole like NBA was because probably most of his players are probably listening to him, and I've seen like concerts where these kids go crazy. Like that's why I laugh at it because like them kids, if they listen to that, you gonna get the energy that where they can get the energied up. And because I see them kids in the little the Pooh Shiesty mask, and them kids act wild. I'm like them kids. I've never seen a bunch of young men like just like jumping and just wilding. And it's just one thing I just found it so funny. Like when he kept on making the reference to NBA YoungBoy, I just started laughing because I see those clips of one of the concerts and them kids, they just go crazy over NBA YoungBoy, and it's like, and I get where he's come from as far as trying to establish this whole culture, but sometimes in this day and age, you just can't do the type of stuff. And I always used to, especially when it comes to somebody from a coach of old, like a previous coach, like Coach Saban. Like I always, and I say this as a joke, and you'll follow this. Like what I always used to say about like Matt Patricia, Eric Mangini, or Lil Bills. I used to call them Lil Bills. Everybody who failed, I used to call them Lil Bills because all they want to do is try to be just like Bill Belichick, like to the T. And it's just like that
don't work.
It don't work, and that's where it's like I don't necessarily think this. I don't know if it's going to be. I can't definitively say this not going to work. This and third, but those type of situations, you can't. Like to me, I want, like you said, you can play music throughout certain things. Like if we just doing stress, like if it's day we ain't in pads, all right, we can play it. But like if we installing the game, whatever game plan or doing something, some more stringent, even hell if we can not play music, but there should be a point in the practice where you can play music, especially in the beginning, where kind of get you going, because it's one of the things where just like everything, that's just like if most people, and I know in like in your profession, people want to listen to music. I think people who travel day in day out, that's how they get through the day. That's how most people get through their day if they have a job where they don't, where they are allowed to listen to music, this, that, and third. That's how they get their day going. And I think the same thing goes with them. And I think eliminating that yet again is something where you got from Coach Saban, which that's not going to work because you have a different generation of players now.
Yeah.
And these young dudes, they don't what they say, they young, well, and turn. So these kids different.
Yeah, I mean, I don't get me wrong. I'm cool with coaches from like Nick Saban's coaching tree trying to adopt his type of coaching style, but then if that's not you, then it's not authentic.
It's not you.
So like you have to be your authentic self to really resonate with these kids because they'll be able to point out if you're being real or fake. And if they deem you being not yourself, then half the battle's already lost. Like them kids, I'm saying kids, but that team not gonna really listen to you or respect you if you're not being your true, authentic self. Like,
yeah.
And plus, you're not Nick Saban. Like,
right.
That's the main thing.
That's the biggest issue.
So
right.
So if this was Nick Saban doing this and saying this, it holds more. It will be held in much more regard, but
he's more and he's more accomplished. So it's like one thing where hey, he's won X amount of NCAA championships versus the protege implement, like we talked about, like the Little Bills, like the Matt Patricias, the Eric Cornell. What was his name? Mangini, and then the other the defensive coordinator that was at Cleveland. What was his name? Oh man,
talking about Romeo.
Yeah, Romeo Cornell. Yeah, Romeo Cornell. Like those type, like I said, Little Bills. But yeah, but yeah, I mean, we're gonna see how this all play out, and hey,
I mean,
like to me,
No, I was gonna say he may, like I said, if we haven't heard anything about, well, since this report came out, we haven't heard any former players anything talk about he received any pushback, anything from his players, then I think it'll just blow over. And at some point, this won't even be a topic of discussion like that anymore.
Yeah.
So.
And this is a perfect opportunity for him to invite like a young boy, and then and that's what I'm saying. Like be almost like how Pete Carroll used to be. Pete Carroll used to have the music, and he invite like guys to the guys over and this, that, and the third, and so
you got to be able to relate to your team.
You got to, and I think that's another way through music. And could you imagine if you bring NBA young boy to them kids, they'll run through a brick wall for you.
Mm-hmm.
They'll run through a brick wall for you, for sure. But yeah, so we'll put a ball on tonight's show. We'll do game ball. Who gets with game ball for you?
Oh man, I'm gonna give it out to UConn, both men's and women's. It's just you don't really see this a lot, where both programs are just as dominant. Coach Gino and Coach Hurley, they got UConn. Well, Gino always had UConn at that level, and then Coach Hurley, since he's been there, back-to-back natties, and then potentially, this year he's in the Final Four, so potentially got a chance to go to 3 and 4 years?
3 and 4 years.
Or was it 3 and 5 years?
Because they won in 2023 and 2024?
Just 4, and then it was Florida.
Because they had lost last.
Yeah, so he got a chance to go 3 and 4 years. Yeah, so and then if you think about it, Gino has the chance to complete another undefeated season again. So things are looking up for UConn.
And a back-to-back for them. They won last year.
Exactly. Yeah. So.
Yeah.
It's just.
I know.
I know UConn gets hate sometimes, but you gotta respect what they're doing. They just a well-oiled machine, and they just win. That's plain and simple. They just win.
Yeah. Yeah, because that's the only basketball they're gonna have in the state of Connecticut, especially now after the Sun.
Oh yeah.
Get ready to bounce, and that's a messed up deal. So hey, I know I was like, man, but it is what it is. I guess I get this week's game ball. somewhat kind of nostalgic. I got we talked about some Final Four teams. They got to give a huge shout out to Illinois. This is their first trip back to the Final Four since 2005. And then the Arizona Wildcats. This is their first time being in the Final Four since 2001. So I think about the Illinois days. Obviously, that 05 team with Darren Williams, Luther Head, and my guy D Brown. And like guys, like it's funny because you think like you hark back and you be like, yeah, those are guys. Obviously in my same age group. So like I remember them coming up, like and all that. So it's like that's kind of cool for Illinois to get back. And then like the Arizona team for 01. I mean, you think about like Gilbert Arenas, Richard Jefferson, Channing Frye.
Yeah.
I think Luke Walton was on that team. Like, and they were a team, and I forgot the guy. I think Gardner was their point guard. I think at the time. No, he might have been beforehand. I couldn't think about it. But yeah, man. So definitely an interesting Final Four. Like we talked about, we got UConn, Illinois, and then we got Michigan and Arizona. So man, it's gonna be some good games, and yet again, only one of these teams gonna win, and that's the crazy thing about it. And they'll have their one shining moment. Looking forward to the national championship, especially with hearing that one shining moment. That's a highlight of the year.
Yeah.
When you hear Luther, the ball is tipped, man. Just get ready for 2 hours, 2 minutes of just brilliance. And man, that's that one shining moment. Like because it's funny because everybody be like, "What's your favorite Luther song?" Low key. I met that one kind of moment. I don't care what nobody say. Yes, he had some hits, but when you hear that one shining moment when he sing that, it's like everything he sing was impeccable. Like when people say that you can sing the phone book and it's good, that's him. Like if you actually had a person, because everything he sings is gold. Like even like that's like that song. You think to yourself, when they play that song, you're like you get goosebumps. I don't care what kind of fan you are. You hear that on that first Monday in April around a little after 11 o'clock. Oh yeah,
you know what time it is.
You know what time it is. Your hair gonna stand up on your arms and everything, cause you'll be like, damn, this shit was good.
Mm-hmm.
But damn. But yeah, man, like that one shining moment, man. I like that's classic.
Oh yeah.
And it sucks because now obviously with no Greg Gumbel, because he used to like kind of get you ready for it, but
he was the voice. He was the voice.
And speaking of that, before we head on out, man, y'all better stop giving my boy Nate Burleson hell. My boy he was killing these last 2 weeks. I'm hating how this whole discourse, of course, of other Hughes talking about how Nate Burleson sucked. Like, no, Nate doing this thing. Yeah. Like, I don't care what nobody say. Nate is one of the hardest working men in showbiz. Like, and then this whole thing of like D.I., I'm like, all right, you get up at 4, 5 o'clock in the morning, you do the morning show. You do the NFL, you do a Nickelodeon show in the middle of the week. You do all the stuff that Nate Burleson do, man, you'll be tired by Monday. Like, are you serious? This man worked day in, day out. He's working hard. How can you think like that? It's just like, that's why I find it so funny. It's like, you really got to be a miserable son of a bitch to say somebody is a DEI hire. That man works harder than anybody in showbiz. Like, he does the morning show every day. He got shows on. They got a show on Nickelodeon, and he do the NFL Today.
Like, so last, and in order for him to get those types of jobs, he has to be well versed, well read, and he has to know what he's talking about, because not only we know Nate Burleson from playing in the NFL and Good Morning Football, but to see him on those morning shows, and then now with the March Madness, that just lets you know he puts the time and puts in the work and effort to be up to date on what's going on in college basketball. Because he can easily just stick to just talking about football, college football, NFL if he wanted to, but he's looking beyond and wants to do more things within the sports media space. And to do that, you have to know, you have to learn about these different sports that's going on. You have to be able to hold conversations, debate, even if they're giving you 30 to 45 seconds to get your point across. You got to be able to get your point across and make it make sense in that time frame. So he putting in the work. So,
And the thing that kills me about all this is like, let you do that. Let you do that while you're typing away on your sofa and you talk about something. He's not. I'm like, I want you to try it. And that's the thing I hate. Like, just even on this level, like this is not easy. Like, people think that you talking to Mike that it's the easiest thing. No, because you can say, "Oh yeah, Unc, you're stupid. Put the fries in the bag, Unc." You don't even have a profile picture. Do you even have a microphone? Do you even have a thought in your mind to even be able to say it on the mic and can do that? So yes. So it's just like, that's why I find so funny that everybody, this whole mantra thinking that everything is easy. That's what's wrong with the internet. Everybody think everything is easy. This is not easy.
No,
nothing in life is easy that's worth working for.
Especially doing this, it's not easy. You gotta, like I said, you gotta put the time in. You gotta prepare, do your research, study up on what the topics are, and like you said, once that red light turns on and it's live, there's no turning back. I mean,
turn it back.
Yeah, you got to be able to roll with the punches, and then sometimes we may get off topic. You got to be able to continue the conversation, or at least be able to add something, or at least be able to add something to the conversation.
So. But yeah, man, not too much of my boy Nate, man, and shout out to Nate. He follows the brand on Twitter, so definitely huge shout out to that guy Nate Burson. So I'm a ride for Nate. I don't care what nobody say.
And he's a former Detroit Lion, so he.
Yeah, man.
So
shout out to Nate Burson, man.
Yeah.
But yeah, man. So any final thoughts, social media, anything you got going on? What you got?
Nothing really. Working on see if I can get this interview completed this weekend. I'll be able to talk more about it next week.
Okay.
But social media, IG is Game On Media _X. Twitter/X is X_J_SR. Also got a new Twitter page. The Dream Bookers Podcast Twitter page. Also TikTok, Game On Media _X.
All right. Yeah, man. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Couch Coach Live, website couchcoachlive.com. Nothing going on. Hey, it's Easter weekend, so we're just chilling, before we head on back for season 3 covering the UFL. So, once the defenders come on home, so get that going. And spring is definitely in the air. So, obviously we'll do the spring sports. So we'll be doing, obviously BCU baseball sprinkled in, and also some Richmond kickers as well eager to get back, especially for year 5, covering the Richmond Kickers. So we'll be doing that really soon, probably at some point about mid-month. We'll be back at City Stadium with that. And yeah, man, so this rounds up this week's episode, man. We'll catch you guys next week. And we're out.
Peace.